It's the Harris Football Podcast with your host, Christopher Harris.
Welcome! Hey, everybody! Welcome in. My name is Chris. This is a show disguised as The Prisoner's Dilemma. What is going on? Thank you so much for listening today. I hope you had a nice weekend. No matter what's going on in your world right now, from silly stuff to serious stuff, I hope we can build an hour where you get to set your mind on things that don't really matter that much, though it is fun to talk about them as though they do. Before I get started, one email. This is from Ian V., I think possibly from Chicago, also possibly parts unknown. Hey, Harris. It just so happens in the car ride home on the way back from a weekend in Wisconsin, go Bears, my brother Andrew put on your pod, only to have you do that spiel for new listeners. What prompted you to do that? Big coincidence. Anyway, tapeworms, I can kind of understand how that could be a thing, but Children of the Possum is definitely weird. My brother said this show is so stupid, which apparently is also a thing for you guys. LOL. Big fan of the pod. One episode in. See that? There's always someone new tuning in for the first time and getting totally confused about, like, wait, why is that guy yelling at me off the top of the show? That's weird. Welcome to all the new listeners. Hopefully the very stupid nature of the show and all the inside jokes won't turn your brain to complete mush. And of course, welcome to all of you regular listeners as well. Let me mention that the bribery has commenced. I did my first Zoom with a book bribery winner this weekend. It was lovely, a fun conversation. I will post a picture on social media. Already posted it on the Yacht Club Discord. Bribery works. If you pre-order my new novel, Pound Foolish, and send me a screen capture, you're entered. We'll be doing a drawing at the end of today's show for a Yacht Possum hat or t-shirt of your choosing. Right now is the best time to do this. We only have about 300 people who've pre-ordered the book. That is not going to get Cumulative Press a bestseller.
It's a hard word for Harris to say, yeah.
Did you notice I just kind of screwed it up even on that little intro to the sound drop? However, even though that is not nearly enough people, it is something that gives you better odds to win the sooner you enter. And yes, if you're just tuning in, rejoining the podcast, I finally have a new novel coming out September 1st. Stanley wrote in this morning and said, hey, one reason people might not be pre-ordering is because you said it's a sequel and maybe they haven't read Slotback Rhapsody. And I appreciate that note. Let me put everyone's mind at ease. You really do not have to have read Slotback or listened to Slotback. This is a completely freestanding story. I'd say if you have read or listened to Slotback, there are a few Easter eggs that you might recognize, but you do not have to have read or listened to Slotback to fully experience Pound Foolish. Anyway, I am bribing you to pre-order it anywhere but Amazon because of the way the bestseller lists are constructed. Amazon sales don't help in August. You can get it there in September. There are going to be giveaways every day the rest of August. Plus, I think you'll like the book. It's a mystery about a serial killer who might be on a pro football team. All the info you need is at harrisfootball.com under there's a Pound Foolish in the menu. Go order it now. And also, if you find yourself listening to me say this and you're like, listen, just right now, expenses are too tight. I cannot justify the expense. Please let me know. Please. There's no embarrassment in it. Hey, Harris at harrisfootball.com. We have several really generous donors who want to buy you a book and enter you into the bribery like everybody else. We Yacht Possums take care of each other. Very glad to help. Drop me an email. Hey, Harris at harrisfootball.com. All right. So it's a Monday morning. Let's talk NFL news from over the weekend. There were 2 changes I made to the ranks this morning. The current ranks at harrisfootball.com are now the most current ones. First off, on the positive side, I'm starting to believe Malik Nabers could really be ready week 1 and could, hopefully go without a hitch. It's August 10th. Nabers still hasn't done any 7-on-7 or 11-on-11 work yet, but we have to admit, this is a process, and also, I said it in July, something we were very interested in tracking day by day when we were going to be talking about the Giants. And every Giants camp observer says that Nabers looks really good. I did not bump him up where he would have gone without the torn ACL, obviously, but I did get him inside my top 20 receivers. Right now, 16 standard, 17 PPR. Does he have downward mobility from here? Of course, you know what that's going to look like. Does he have more upward mobility from there? Maybe a little bit. Maybe we're getting close to what I think my limit is. This does put him inside the top 40 overall for me. So if you're thinking third round for Nabers, that's fine. I think that could work out really well. Obviously, the upside of it is you're getting a round one player in round three. That would be great. The downside is obvious. If the market wants to get way more aggressive than that, I'm probably willing to miss it because playing week one isn't the only thing. The knee holding up all season is important too, but certainly optimism about Nabers and then pessimism about Luther Burden. Suffered a groin injury in camp. We're told Monday morning immediately he's likely to miss about a month. This is an actual real injury, not just a tweak. So he's done for the rest of training camp. That matters. It's his second training camp, his first one where his head's not spinning because he's a rookie. I, as you probably know, already had Rome Odunze slightly ahead of Burden. I think there are going to be folks who tell you, oh, no, don't bother dropping Burden. He'll be back for week one. I think those are people who just are a little take committed. They're in the wish casting business. This has to lower Luther Burden's range of outcomes at least a little, if only because it's a fresh injury and it could happen again in the season. I didn't do anything crazy lowering him, but I did lower him 4 or 5 spots among receivers, down to wide receiver 29 standard, 27 PPR, about a round, I would say, in the combined ranks. Doesn't mean he's definitely missing week one, but again, I'll say it, if Burden wasn't already, quote unquote, some people's guy, like this is my guy, that they already were extending themselves on, if this was like DJ Moore did this, if Cortland Sutton did this, the players that the hipsters have bypassed, like you know that they would drop those guys like a hot potato. So if they're telling you don't drop Burden, I think they're compromised, shall we say. We had the news that Laramie Tunsil, the starting left tackle for the Commanders, he tore a triceps, is probably out for the season, leaving Washington's offensive line pretty thin. I think we'll probably mention it later in the show today, although hard to draw a perfectly straight line that goes, that's exactly how much Terry McLaurin should drop in the ranks. Jaden Daniels should drop in the ranks. I'm not going to do that. I don't usually do that when a peripheral player gets hurt, but it certainly affects the environment. Losing good players hurts an environment, no question. Other stuff from the weekend, Michael Pittman suffered a leg injury in Steelers camp. To this point, it seems like him limping off from practice was not that big a deal and precautionary. We'll make sure that that's the case. Josh Downs suffered a groin injury. Once again, told not that big a deal. Ty Johnson, the Bills receiving back. As of my recording this right now, I don't know anything for sure, but didn't sound great. Ray Davis has been a super deep sleeper for me in the past. Johnson, though, has stubbornly held off Davis and been the main third down back in Buffalo. We'll see what that looks like in the coming days. If you're looking for a less heralded rookie receiver to potentially believe in, we've kind of talked back and forth about the Ravens, and are we really going to do this with Rashad Bateman again? The answer is absolutely not. We are not going to do this with Rashad Bateman again. Sorry, Matt Harmon. I know you love him. I'm not drafting him. And probably in most leagues, I'm going to guess I won't be drafting either one of the Ravens' rookie receivers, but one of those two guys, it has been Jacoby Lane, that the beat guys in Baltimore simply can't stop gushing about. One of them said that Lane is submitting the best receiver rookie training camp that he's ever seen. It's going to be worth tracking. So it's not Elijah Surratt so far. It's Jacoby Lane who has made the noises. I haven't committed to getting Lane into draftable territory yet, but my pay attention to him o-meter, very scientific device, is now tuned in, and for the next week or two, let's start getting into those intra-squad scrimmages, which I think are very useful for young players. So I'll just be tracking it a little closer. And then the Browns are doing this again at quarterback. More beat reporters are telling us, hey, it actually might be Deshaun Watson after all at quarterback. I think the Browns are probably leaking this too to prepare the NFL landscape for an unthinkable decision. Some of the national reporters who act like they've really got their finger on the pulse of everything that's happening in the league when, in fact, all they're doing is texting people in front offices and accepting their word as gospel. But somebody seems to be telling them that Watson might be ahead of Shedeur Sanders again. And you remember that happening back in the spring, and we all reacted like, why? I think it's a bad move, kids. But I'm just here to repeat what the repeaters are saying. Can't really understand why the Browns would even make this an option with Watson's insane contract finally about to expire at the end of this year. Imagine if he plays and is okay, and now you have to make a decision about giving him a new contract. Insane stuff, but we shall see.
Today's kickoff.
Okay, on today's show, it's time to check out the Zeros, Film Room Zeros, that is. You heard us do some heroes on Thursday's podcast. Well, today is the opposite. These are players we don't particularly think are great, or at least maybe we don't think they're as great as conventional wisdom would have it. There's something about them that we think isn't so good, maybe more than one thing. Film Room Zeros for 2026, and my guest will be Jimmy McCormick. I know you'll have fun. Jim always brings the fun, and I thank you again so much for listening today. We are sponsored today by Shopify. If you've gotten an almanac this year, you've used Shopify, because I use Shopify. What a difference it has made. If you have a business idea like I did, Shopify makes it easy to make it happen. Everything you need to start selling is included from day one. It's great. For my customers, which is largely you, the checkout with Shopify is really simple. It's great peace of mind to never hear a word of questioning for potential customers about the checkout process. And once my Almanac store was set up, I just didn't really have to think about it, which gave me more time to write it and to tell you about it. I am thrilled with Shopify. They power millions of businesses worldwide. The customer support is great. With Shopify, nothing stands between your idea and a real business. So go make it one. Start your free trial at shopify.com/Harris. That's shopify.com/Harris. Start your free trial. Shopify.com/Harris.
Today's guest.
Underscore Baron. His jokes make me smile. Lawsuits he's drafted, never meaning to file. Poisons Rhode Island.
The underscore Baron. It's such an ominous Knights in White Satin sort of introduction for the underscore Baron. He's not on social media as much. I don't know. You're Johnny Dawkins on Blue Skies, but it's spelled John, right?
Yeah, it's like a not that great Sixers player in the late 80s. Great for Duke though, Johnny Dawkins. But yeah, I've yet to do much blue skying. But maybe LeBron brings me to the sky. I don't know.
You don't do much tweeting either. Basically, don't
No.
follow Jim. He's a school teacher. What are you following Jim for? It's creepy. Stop following him.
Seriously.
Yeah, seriously. So we were chatting here before the button got pushed, and I was referring to the worry that I'm booking this tour, these gigs to read to the people here in the West, and I'm having like a lot of books sent out to be purchased by people and signed, and if 4 people show up, it's going to be a little embarrassing.
The cool part is like I read a lot and they have to show up. Like if they don't, it's like truancy, you know? So I have like a fixed audience, which is cool. You might want to think about that. So
do you have any words of wisdom for the folks who are in, I mean, the one issue is that the Seattle people have complained a little bit that I'm doing it in Tacoma, but that's where the bar was volunteered. Sam's bar is in Tacoma. So like, you can make that drive. I think Brandon Funston is going to come to that one. I'm going to ask him tomorrow. But the people of the Seattle, Tacoma area, Portland, Vegas, and Phoenix, they should definitely come, right?
they should. It's the Chris Harris tour. I won't be opening, but just spiritually I will be. So let's just like trust the process.
You have a copy of the book.
I do.
Yeah. Part of it, probably something you'll be adding to the kids' curriculum because it's really appropriate for
Absolutely. It'll be like a choral reading. We'll take turns.
Murder and swearing. That's basically what I boil Pound Foolish down to: murder and swearing, and a little football too. All right. Well, you've done the Film Room Zeros list for, I think this might be the 5th year in a row. So you know what, on the one hand, you know what to do. So I don't think you're going to like biff the assignment. On the other hand, how many people can you hate? Because we're trying not to repeat from the previous year, but sometimes you do anyway. So, you know, we did Film Room Heroes with JJ back on Thursday. And of course, the counterpoise to that, it's funny that I made you the Film Room Zeros guy because you're not like a negative football watcher particularly, except when it comes to the Eagles. But as you are tasked with this now every year to come up with people who watching them play, you're like, what's your criteria?
I have a type. I mean, I suppose it's like when it feels like there's a breaking point or a change has occurred. A variety of factors. Obviously, it's not just the player, but like the surroundings. It could be just like
that's
more
not this
doubt.
list, though, Jim. I guess I'm wrong. You can do this wrong.
Yeah, I did it wrong. The idea is players that I understand are that I don't want this year, that I find they're in decline, that like didn't look good enough on tape.
Okay, there you go. That's the key. Because the point is all these lists really are just an excuse to talk about players. So I don't honestly care why you're bringing up a player. It's fine. The assignment is really less about surroundings and more about talent, more about like finding a player overall lacking. But I will freely admit, I've asked you to do this so many years in a row that at some point, you're out of guys that you're like, that guy stinks. You know, you're going to say the same name every year. So it's honestly whatever.
I just think of like Allen Robinson, for example. Like it's the Memorial Allen Robinson Award, or like the Miles Sanders. I said Sander, like singular. But that's a Philadelphia thing. You just ruin people's last names. But no, like Allen Robinson, I saw like it felt like all these factors were going in, so I probably ruined it with crutch arguments. But the real point was that there was a decline happening that year with the Bears, and then there was this shine that he was going to the Rams, and it just felt like this misread on what he was, and I suppose that's also how I look at it, like that he wasn't playing to what his reputation was. So
yeah, misread on what they are is a good way of putting it. But if it winds up being something else, it's fine. As I say, it's simply an excuse to talk about players, so that the folks hear us talk about lots and lots of players before they have to do their drafts. It's funny you mentioned Miles Sanders because he actually was on an NFL team this time last year, the Cowboys, and he made my list last year because, man, the fall off was precipitous, as they say. So we're going to pointless countdown 5 through 1. We're going to talk through our Film Room Zeros for 2026. It doesn't matter who number 5 is, but it's very important who number 5 is. Who's number 5?
It is TJ Hockenson. He's obviously there's like a statistical decline, but really it's just I find that he's like looks more plotting, more.
Yeah, me too.
it just looks like you could just he sits in his areas and that's fine. I feel like Jawan Jennings can just be a better version of that right away. And it's not even just like, look, you said it's not contextual, all the pecking order stuff. It's that like earning targets is a skill in a lot of ways, and to do that with basically like a declining skill set, I'm not a huge fan of.
Yeah, I'm interested when we get to the second half of August and we start feeling like ADP has any sort of value, because I really just don't feel like it does right now. Nobody's really drafting. I'll be very interested to see what people do with TJ Hockenson. I'm with you that last year, of course, the surroundings were totally disastrous, but he himself did not look the same. And he was recovering from. I mean, he has since recovered from a very severe knee injury. And, I ranked him 24th among tight ends. His speed grade among tight ends for me is down to a C. This is a very good, I'm going to, because last year was so disastrous, he finishes 29th among tight ends playing 15 games.
It was 20 per game, 27th. It wasn't good. Yeah.
Yeah. Bad. I can imagine maybe people aren't going to be tempted by the name brand anymore, but it's so worth saying that the name brand didn't look like it had much value going forward last year. He's a year further removed from a bad knee injury, but if you look in the almanac, you look at his profile, you'll see places on film where I just said, yeah, he's not separating.
Not separating himself from that infinite sadness of tight ends.
that too. Agreed. I will have a tight end on this list, but he will come much later in the show. My number 5, hey, let's talk slow guys. I have the coconut debony, Deebo Samuel, who wasn't on a team when I wrote the almanac until the last minute. I mean, I guess I should thank the 49ers for making I'm not thanking them. Right, the almanac has now been out exactly 1 week, and it was last weekend that they signed Samuel because Ricky Pearsall was no more, and they needed somebody. He has a lot of experience in that offense. He knows what he's doing. He also is earning a very small amount of money by NFL standards, and a lot of it isn't guaranteed. And based on really the last year in San Francisco, which led me to really fade him last year in Washington, there's just not much left, I don't think. Of course, he's big and bruising. It could wind up going wrong. Fading him could wind up going wrong if his coach just decides, like he did 1 year in his career. It's only 1 year for Deebo. Every other year has been a disaster for fantasy. That 1 year sure was good. Unless you just get they decided to give him 100 carries out of the backfield and I just biffed it. I'm willing to miss. He's outside my top 50. He looks like he's Dunzo beyond Dunzo. And, okay, at the beginning of last year before everything went to crap in Washington, sure. I mean, it had a 10-target game in week 1, and it was a bunch of screens like you'd expect. And, I understand what can go right, but that kind of thing can go right for every player.
Yeah, I mean, I think having a singular name is just, not fair. It's just if you just Deebo, it's just really difficult to fade that person. But no, seriously, the anchor effect is strong. I still think about it. My brain still goes to, what if he runs for 8 touchdowns? And it's just, that's a singular outcome. He could, but a lot of things would have to happen, of course. And there's a lot of players out there, right? But I guess I'm supposing, what could he do just right now in this offense? And it's gadgety, of course, that's what he does. But at the same time, I watched a lot of NFC East last year, and he just was not scary. At any level. So I'm just not worried about him, even with how well they scheme him open or whatever, get him the ball in advantageous situations. It just feels a little bit desperate and completely random. But 2 years ago, the Eagles signed Devin White from Tampa, and everybody's really excited because of the name value. And then you looked at the contract, you were like, wow, this is really just dressed up. This is a fake contract. And that can speak sometimes to what the team thinks too.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think he signs for more money if he could have got it somewhere else. This was obviously the best deal he could have gotten. The hands are rough, really rough. They essentially, the Niners 2 years ago made Deebo available at the trade deadline. Like, we will give him away. We do not want him on the team anymore, and they stopped using him. Last year, Washington had him as a starter, and towards the end of the last year, he was a part-time player. He was once again had sort of worked his way.
They're playing McCaffrey over him, right? Yeah.
He had 1,400 yards receiving that one COVID year, freaky weird year. He's never topped 900 otherwise. My argument is just he doesn't look good. You're number 4.
This is tough to admit, but it's Dallas Goedert.
Ooh, yeah.
He
scored a lot of touchdowns, though, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes. So much of it was, first of all, they led the league, right, in like comebacks or whatever you're going to call them. But basically, like, he just ran a series of button hooks. He would just like turn, and 3 seconds later, Jalen Hurts would give it to him, and then he would turn. And it was really like they schemed him so many touches in the red zone, and he can still stiff arm with the best of them, but there's no separation. There's no more of that seam stuff that made him really dangerous, because he's not ever going to be a high volume guy. So it always was about the ability to turn in big plays. I just have like Brent Selleck flashbacks, and I'm just like, please no.
Brent Selleck. This is remember some guys moment there. Agreed. He is slow as slow can be, and they were very prepared to move on. Now, in retrospect, given I'm sure your Philly media watching mode is a little worried about Eli Stowers not having a very good rookie training camp and not making inroads at all. So in retrospect, it's a good thing. It seems like that they kept Goedert but they were absolutely ready to cut him, and he took a lot more money, less money rather, to come back.
It's like 2 years in a row that's happened, right? Like they wait around and they're just like, hey, I guess we're going to do this again.
Right. Yeah. Like, what is he? He's 31. There was a time,
31.
I would say overall, despite last year finishing as the tight end too, it was obviously based on 11 touchdowns. He had not even 600 yards receiving. I'm still going to say my overall career hopes. Goedert was definitely one of those guys I posted a lot of career hopes. I thought he could be a Kittle, a complete kind of tight end, does everything, really good blocker, etc. But that speed is just long gone. And I'm with you. Like, probably the optimal thing for that offense would be Stowers or someone else being able to work his way in more. I find it, again, I'm not looking at ADP. I don't think ADP matters. I find it difficult to imagine anybody's going, cool, Dallas Goedert. He finished tight end 2 last year, so he's going to finish top 5 this year. I think everyone kind of gets the deal.
Yeah, we get it. I think, but I guess maybe I'm thinking the same idea of the Hockenson vein. Like, people, I could see being comfortable with him as your tight end 1, and that could still work out. Obviously, this is a strange position. It's just that the actual tape shows that a player just doesn't look as good, and I've been watching him his whole career. It's like pronounced how slow he looked last year.
We are sponsored by Policy Genius. A lot changes from year to year. The podcast starts back up again, which feels like a routine, but we get older, our kids get older, our parents get older. Big changes happen from year to year. It's good to know your family is protected for the future. Finding the right insurance policy is simple and straightforward with Policy Genius. It's an online marketplace for insurance that makes it easy to compare quotes from some of America's top insurers side by side for free. The Policy Genius team helps you find what you need: coverage amounts, prices, and terms to take the guesswork out of it. Plus, they answer your questions, they handle paperwork, they advocate for you throughout the process of getting insurance to give you and your family peace of mind. With Policy Genius, you can find 20-year life insurance policies starting at just $276 per year for $1 million in coverage. Head to policygenius.com to compare life insurance quotes from top companies and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com. Okay, we're back with Jim, and we are counting down our film room zeros for 2026. I'm going to have a couple very young players on here, and it's not fair because you don't want to say someone can't get better. You don't want to say yada, yada, yada. You know the drill. But I'm going to say Jacory Croskey-Merritt, another Commanders connection here. And on the Yacht Club last Wednesday with Andy, we were listing players who could lose their jobs, and I listed JCM on that list as well, but on the main show, people have not heard me talk about JCM, so we want to always make sure we're trying to cover as many guys on the main show as possible. So let's do a little JCM talk. And it isn't fair to say, oh, he's just terrible and will always be terrible. Like, I thought he was pretty terrible last year. For as much opportunity as the Commanders gave him, I thought he didn't play well. I will absolutely freely acknowledge it was not an optimal scenario. Jaden Daniels getting hurt. You're having to play with Marcus Mariota. You get the receivers getting hurt. A lot of stuff is crumbling around him. Offensive coordinator gets fired, yada, yada. But like, all you can really do in a case like this with a young player, now that we have 1 year of NFL tape, is go back and watch it. And I've watched enough running backs that I thought were kind of backup quality. That's the vibe that I got off of JCM last year. He's pretty fast, but I don't think he really makes anybody miss. He's certainly small, so he's not like running over anybody. They didn't throw it to him. And by the end of last year, Chris Rodriguez had very clearly passed him. So again, I will, of course, stipulate that there's, people have weird moments. He went into last year's camp expecting to have the job. Suddenly Brian Robinson gets traded. Like, oh my God, JCM becomes this big hyped guy, and I very clearly did not live up to it. And I, again, don't want to say that if you take him, you're doomed and he stinks forever, but he stunk last year.
He runs like a big guy, but doesn't play because he's not a big, but he runs so upright that I don't get it. Like, who taught him that? Like, he's obviously somebody. It's like, he's really, obviously, his running back coach was better than mine. But I would just say that, like, Bill, it just seems like, you said a lot of negatives, and I'm still like struggling to see what exactly he does at like, what is his niche in this league?
Yeah, he's a speed guy more than he is anything else. He's pretty fast. The entire Commanders thing last year was kind of off the rails immediately. Like, I think
the line was so bad, right?
The line was bad. I think Austin Eckler was the plan to start the year, and then he tears his Achilles. And like, kind of, I guess like week 5 or something, maybe they elevated JCM, and you got some speed carries and stuff. Like, if we're gonna paint the story of a turnaround, it's a little less bouncing, a little better vision, a little more lateral elusiveness than he showed last year, and then yes, the speed is pretty good. That's the vein for success. The teaming of him with Rachaad White, and the reason why I said like JCM might quote unquote lose his job. I mean, he's going to play, but I just mean the notion that he's the clear number one or something. I don't know. We're going to probably find out when we find out. But the teaming with Rachaad White, like, I think Rachaad White kind of stinks too. He's been on this list before, but there's one thing he does really well, and so oops, I guess JCM's not playing on third down. That seems important. And we're talking about investments. Like, the investment in Rachaad White wasn't high, so they're not pot committed contract wise to Rachaad White. They have the rookie. They have Katron Allen, who could turn into this year's JCM in terms of, that's the one everyone wants to fall in love with. It's a mix. It's a mess. JCM can get better, but yeah, he wasn't very good last year. Do you have any other? We can move on if you don't have any other JCM thoughts.
I mean, I just that offense continues to baffle me, how poorly they kind of support Daniels, and this is like another symptom of it.
Right. There's the triceps tear for Laramie Tunsil. That's, recent news, and suddenly, okay, cool. So the guy who they weren't sure could win the left guard job is now the left tackle. I'm sure that'll go great. There's issues. There's issues there, and that doesn't mean they can't be solved. And once again, doesn't mean that Croskey-Merritt can't show better in year 2 than in year 1, and then I'm not calling him up from room 0 anymore, but I am right now. So, Jim, who's your number 3?
This is Davante Adams.
We talked about him on Friday with Josh, actually.
So he finished wide receiver 9. He's not Dallas Goedert, but I mean, it was very TD driven, obviously. Not only do you regress that, just like expecting that, but he just looked a lot slower. He still obviously can get open. He's got like some of the best route mechanics ever. But I mean, having a Taco Bell in your living room at 33, just a bad idea. But seriously, it's like I just suppose like it's all touchdown rate, and it's on tape. I continue to see a player who can win in those short yardage moments, but he would have to this year. Like I don't see him being able to carry you without the touchdowns based on he's just not getting the separation, and he doesn't run that role in this offense anymore. He didn't last year.
Yeah. So on Friday with Josh, we did Acid Reflux All-Stars, and Adams was number 2 on my list, which is to say I can imagine myself taking the plunge, but I know I'm going to, have the stress farts, as we like to say. Like, I know it's going to be, like this could go really wrong. High variance. He's got very high variance. You said
it. Taco Bell, it works.
Wide receiver 7 or whatever it was, based on 14 touchdowns. The speed is worse. It is. I mean, people have
heard a little bit of a layup. It feels like Friday. Not layup, but like easy because of the age and everything, and the touchdown thing. They're like classic, just like look at this chart kind of things. But it's just true. Look at the chart.
It's true, and yet you said it right, which is the only place he looks like Davante Adams is in that phone booth. Is in that like the 0.37 seconds after a snap when he's already open because his first move is so sudden. That doesn't seem like it's gone away. That's how he gets open in the red zone. But the problem is he can't back any of that up with the deep cross or the dig or the go route or anything like that. So you have to make a bet that what worked last year works again this year. Depends on the price. I don't know if you're maintaining regular ranks, but if I tell you that Davante Adams is my wide receiver 17, is that like laughably high to you?
Well, no, because the 12, like he is one of the few players where 12 touchdowns is like completely, that's fine. That wouldn't baffle me at all. It's just that you said the acid reflux thing, the experience that you could be paying for is so dependent on that you're going to be like, he has 3 catches going into the 4th. So
that's very true. It is very, very true. I mean, I guess I wouldn't be surprised if that's a little bit high because it obviously screams regression. It does. I don't know. I might chicken out. I might find a couple of guys in his neighborhood that, yeah. I mean, I can't argue. Like I graded him a C in speed. He looks slower. This is a theme. We are coming up with some guys who do look slower. My number 3 doesn't look slower, and actually we talked about him on the acid reflux list on Friday also, but it was cousin Josh who had him on his list. And he said, so is this guy an acid reflux for you? And I'm like, no, he's just bad and I'm not drafting him. It's Marvin Harrison. I don't know if he's bad, but once again, we're talking young players, and all you can really do, I think, once they've been in the league is say what you've seen. And can what you've seen change? It can, but until you see it, it seems to me that it's wish casting. And in Marvin Harrison's case, I think anybody trying to pretend that what they've seen is good is just wishing that their previous take is right, wishing that there's logic to a player going really high in the NFL draft and still, panning out, kind of wishing for order in the universe. And that can happen, but I don't know how you draft based on it. Marvin Harrison doesn't really separate on the long ball. He doesn't really separate on routes. He's a good jump ball guy, good contested catch guy, but last year, Jim, you had Quentin Johnston on your list. And I kind of challenge people to watch and tell me where Quentin Johnston and Marvin Harrison have put down like markedly dissimilar tape.
I mean, if I'm a Chargers fan, I'm like, see, look. But no, it's. I've always wondered what does he do? What has he done well yet? Like you want at least a flash to be able to buy into the idea that the draft stock or that the pedigree and the Ohio State performance means something. It's certain if his name was Marvin, I don't know, would
McCormick.
Harrington, would it be different? Like, yeah, I took a while to get to Harrington. Yeah.
I mean, he was if he'd been the number 4 pick, it would not be any different. They would still be pounding. And like, again, he has had legitimate excuses. He's had to play with late-stage Cardinals Kyler Murray. He's had bad luck with injuries. He had an emergency appendectomy. That's not his fault. He had a concussion. Towards the end of the year, it was his heels. That was why Michael Wilson was getting so much work, because his heels were bad.
Sounds like Joel Embiid. You're talking about it sounds like this person's falling apart.
I know, he's like 24. You're of course right that it's the package that people want to believe in, because we were promised generational, and of course we're promised generational every year. But Harrison, we were really promised generational. He hasn't separated. He hasn't. I don't know. You can look at highlights. You can look at him like running straight down the field, putting his arm up in the air, not really being open, but it's a nice throw, and he just is bigger and stronger and wrestles it away. There's that on film. There is. I have Michael Wilson 2 spots higher. I don't really know what's going to happen, but I'm talking 38 and 40 among wide receivers. Like, I can tell you that Michael Wilson's ball skills are better. I can tell you he's probably a little faster. I can tell you I think he runs better routes, at least has to this point. But if we wake up and it's week 8 and Marvin Harrison is fantasy's wide receiver 2 because he's become an alpha, I'll be surprised because he hasn't shown it yet. But of course, we've seen that happen. People do figure stuff out.
If it's him, it's good luck to everybody else, because he probably won't be on my roster. So, yeah.
Indeed. All right, your number 2 film room 0.
This would be Bucky Irving.
Interesting.
So I really liked him early in his career. He has been basically like the foundation of my large roster. It's just that I continue to not understand exactly what he does well. He obviously is not a short yardage guy. The thing is that he had this home run gear before, and it just it was gone this year. I understand the line was really bad. So when there was chaos early in the, early behind the line, that was difficult, but also that's part of his job. He was really bad at that, at escaping trouble. And it was his contact balance that I saw that seemed different. Of course he's coming off of a series of injuries, but that's also part of his profile. He didn't his first year, he truly looked like a bowling ball, like some Frank Gore, I said Fred Gore, which I should be fired. Frank Gore style, just where he constantly felt like he could weave around and take contact. It just didn't seem that way, and the stats back it up. I don't need to quote them, but he fell apart in yards after contact this year.
The sprinter soldier, Bucky Irving, we like to call him. I guess I still like him on tape. I guess I respect where you're coming from. I understand your point. If it's going to turn out that he's going to have a better career than he showed last year, it will largely because it was against the Eagles that he got hurt last year.
Yes.
He didn't come out of that game, but at first they were calling it a sprained foot during the game, and then
it's a shoulder.
Right, it changed his shoulder. I mean, in that game, I think he scored a 72-yard touchdown against the Eagles, but I guess that's probably why the secret hatred. You just don't like that touchdown.
No, he stayed on the field after the play, and so it was.
He did.
People were wondering, what is this? People meaning me, who.
Everyone. No, you're 100% right. They wound up changing it from a foot to a shoulder, and then I think we now know that he did have shoulder surgery. The question is the foot that became a shoulder, as I say in the almanac. The question comes down to was anything that he did once he missed half the season and then comes back, and he wasn't as good. I'll keep holding out hope, but he is definitely going to go lower in year 3 than he did in year 2. I don't think there's any question. I guess if you're asking me the one good thing that he does, I really still think he's just lightning quick side to side. He's just very decisive. Feels like he sees it pretty well. I'm with you. He's never going to run through anybody. He's tiny. He's tiny bones.
But I guess the line is a huge part of this, I suppose, because they just weren't there last year. So
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, if you're if you're frustrated by split backfields, like probably the tiny boned, maybe really quick, maybe really talented in that regard. I tend to think so, but that guy is probably always going to be paired with at least one other person. In this case, they're pairing him with two other people, and one of them is like a faded photocopy of himself. Kenny Gainwell is kind of like if Bucky Irving was worse. And that's scary because...
And he responds to emails and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's, like, responsible. Like, not that Bucky Irving isn't. I'm just saying his name's Kenneth. He doesn't even go by Kenny. Like...
That is very responsible of him. And then, then Sean Tucker is the bowling ball, and that there's a potential for that to turn into no touchdowns for anybody but him. So I understand why, from a fantasy perspective, you'd have some doubts. And listen, the curse of the tiny bones... I think I've trained you well. I think I've brainwashed you a little bit about the very small run, the sub 200 running backs. It's a tough way to live, especially because Bucky Irving's not really a bounce outside guy. He wants to run inside and make cuts and avoid in the traffic, and you do get smushed that way.
I'm going to be happy having him in large again, though. So there you go.
A quick break to thank Lisa for sponsoring once again. You hear me talk about my bed. I absolutely love my Lisa mattress. I love that in the decade I've been sponsored by Lisa, it's gotten way less weird to get your mattress online rather than go to a superstore and sit on a dozen mattresses for 30 seconds a piece. Now you can pick and choose online. Go to leesa.com. They have a quick mattress quiz to figure out which feel is right for you. Then you can have a bed sent direct to your door and get 4 months to sleep on it and decide if it's perfect for you. And if it's not, no problem. Get a refund. They will come pick it up. Plus, Lisa beds are American-made by a company that treats its workers well, has a factory celebrated for environmental sensitivity, and they donate thousands of beds to families in need each year. I love Lisa, I really do. I think you will too. And right now is their Labor Day early access sale, 25% off select mattresses at leesa.com. And check out with the code Harris, that's another $50 off, 25% off at leesa.com. And for another $50 off, use that code Harris. We are back with Jim, and we have a few more names to get to in our Film Room Zeros. Oh, I just feel good about this one. This is not one that I have any regrets over. JCM, Marvin Harrison, I'm like, well, they're young players. Yeah, this is a young player. And I guess, once again, he could get a lot better. My problem is just that he plays in New York, and therefore he gets a lot of benefit of the doubt. Just as Eli Manning for years got benefit of the doubt, just as Daniel Jones got benefit of the doubt, Jaxson Dart could be better, could perform and not run around like his hair's on fire and not wildly throw all over the place. And if that happens, I will be the first one to come on here and say, wow, this looks different from last year. My job is to tell you what the Surf movie bad guy looked like last year, and he did not look good to me. I don't know. I have much more to say about Jaxson Dart, but what's your feeling on him?
No, I mean, yeah, like he's like Bruce McCoolface, like from like some movie. Like he's just he's awesome, but he is just like the blend of every kind of like strong-nosed blonde villain from 80s movies.
This is true.
Like he's just like my dad has a boat and you don't. But the problem with him is everything you said is true. He's like crazy early spaz Josh Allen with none of the good parts. Like I don't know, some 40% of his fantasy points came from just running with his hair on fire. Yeah. It's the classic. You can't play that way. You can't keep playing that way. And he's like, no, watch, I can do this. And I saw it with Carson Wentz. I mean, in some sense, we saw it with Cam Newton, but that was like a known agreement. Meaning that like he kind of knew that trade-off was happening. I just can't even see how this keeps up like on the field is the thing. And like that matters in terms of tape because his playing style just doesn't seem sustainable.
There is that aspect of it. There's no question. There's the aspect of like he needs to take better care. He needs to not run around like a maniac and get concussed and all that stuff and like take on a linebacker head on when he's trying to get an extra yard.
Yeah, it's like a hero thing that Wentz did suffer from where it's like constant exceptions being made for you. And it's like, no, we can't do that. That's not how this works.
So I will grant you, and that is a good reason to be suspicious of his like long-term prospects and also his, sustainability for fantasy this year. I will also just say from a throwing perspective, it wasn't very good. His accuracy, his vision, I think his arm is plenty strong, but there's so many times the running and throwing across his body, the stupid mistake, the mistake that wasn't intercepted. There are just so many bad throws on that tape.
His arm strength is dangerous for him, like because he'll try to make these throws that seem there, and there was a lot left on the field last year in terms of like just Eagles pick sixes. I'm looking forward to this year. So
it's funny that you mentioned Carson Wentz because last year in the Almanac, I'm quoting myself from this year, I speculated that Dart was Carson Wentz with less arm strength, which doesn't feel completely off, except it omits the part where Dart is a faster runner and has the self-protective instincts of Leroy Jenkins.
There you go. It's all true.
Like he is the self-protective stuff. That is definitely the double-sided coin that people who want to endorse Dart as whatever, the QB7 or something, will just say, I don't care. To me, they're disposable razors. If he gets hurt, I'll add someone else who can run. But for as long as he survives, I got a chance at a rushing touchdown every week. That wins me games. And my constant lament in that regard is always, Anthony Richardson had to be a good enough thrower to be able to stay on the field and wasn't. Yeah. And so, they do have to reach some minimum competent. Kyler Murray loses his job eventually if he can't throw it straight. And based on the throwing from last year, Jaxson Dart wasn't good enough. Again, I will admit, despite
Plus, Skeletor's trying to get him. You know what I mean? So.
Plus, he doesn't have Sidney Sweeney. He hasn't landed Sidney Sweeney yet. There's a league mate of Cousin Josh who swears that that's his end goal, that he'll Dart and Sidney Sweeney.
It's his career goal. I like it.
Yeah. But, despite the hype and the fluffing of players that play in the media capitals, especially in New York, I'll watch it and tell you if I think it looks better. It can look better. Like you said, Josh Allen didn't look very good those first couple of years, so it can happen. But I'm just telling you what it's looked like to this point. And if you're saying, I'm positive it's going to get better, well, I've seen it get better, and I've seen Anthony Richardson, so, I guess all I can do is say...
You probably live in North Jersey at that point. I mean, if that's happening, so...
It's fine if you do. We're happy to have
No,
you
I'm
here.
just saying that it means that you root for the team rather
you believe.
than
yeah.
you have blue glasses on, yes.
There's a whiff to me of Linsanity.
Wow, just like a run. Yeah, like just because it was isolated to like a month of good football or whatever. Or wild football.
Or the current Boston Red Sox, where you go, okay, so wait, it's Nick Sogard who's leading this team now?
What if we just don't lose?
Right, all these 4A players. And I'm not saying Dart's a 4A player. He's a second round. Is he a second round pick or first round pick? I don't remember.
He was a first round pick, I thought. So.
Late first. Yeah. He's taken in the Kenny Pickett zone where quarterbacks usually don't work out. But if it changes, I will change my mind. But right now, I'm talking film room zeros, and to me that was a bad film to watch. We are at your number one film room zero for 2026.
Anticlimactic, because I believe he was on this list last year, but maybe for you, DeAndre Swift.
He was my one. He's
a home run hitter who just doesn't hit as many home runs as you think. He loves to go outside. He is a Miles Sanders clone in a sense. It's ironically replaced him in Philadelphia, but just constantly taking things outside. And there are rewards to that because he can get to the edge in a lot of cases, but teams know that. And this doesn't have to do with the fact that he has competition. It's more that he's in this ultra efficient offense. And that last year felt it felt on the higher end of his outcomes. And I just truly don't believe he doesn't really even take what's there for him. He constantly is seeking more. I just don't know if that's, not that I don't know, I don't believe that's sustainable as keeping your role. I feel like he's the type of player who's going to be susceptible to players taking his job because he's so frustrating.
He's so frustrating. He was my number one last year. He easily could have been on this list again. He's fast. He's legitimately fast.
His name is very accurate. Yes.
His name is very accurate. first of all, we go through who's the Jahmyr Gibbs in this offense since Ben Johnson is now, and we got to go through that whole thing, which, that's not how it works. They don't.
I wrote in my thing, he's not Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, he's not. Very much not Jahmyr Gibbs. And then all he had to go up against in Chicago was Roschon Johnson and some 7th-round rookie. You should be able to just frickin' do away with him. Not only that, but Monangai becomes the power back. He's the same size. The difference between Swift and Monangai is that Monangai will just run where the play's supposed to go.
And the team thought so because they gave him more, touches in the red zone, like from week 10 on. Like they believe it too.
My number that I had in his profile, Swift's profile, was from week 7 forward. Swift was fantasy's RB 13, pretty good, and Monangai was fantasy's RB 19. Which just means the running game was awesome, and it was so super split, and the ride stunk because there were some weeks where, let's face it. Remember that Black Friday game against your Eagles, where the Bears ran for like 400 yards, and their numbers are just going to look good because of that day. They both played amazing that day. It's not to say that Swift's without value. I still have him rated RB23. It's not to say he's not fast, because he is. He's still in his prime. It's just Kyle Monangai. I watched Kyle Monangai film, and I was like, I really hope I fall in love with this guy so I can make a stand and say that this guy should take over. And I'm like, oh, cool. They have Isaiah Pacheco too. Like, it's kind of just it's kind of a slow guy who isn't typewriter feet, but isn't that big, tries to run like a power back, is kind of a good, honest player, but Monangai is very
willing to do his job. Right. Yes.
Yeah. He's a backup. It seems to me that Monangai was rightly taken in the 7th round. And meanwhile, here's DeAndre Swift. And we do call him Zero.
Just like the Bears have a lot of helium, and they should. Like, there's a lot of indicators that this is going somewhere. I just don't know if Swift's going to be there for the ride for you. So.
Yeah, I'll take him before I'll take Monangai, because I didn't come away from that film thinking Monangai was all that good. But it's and I will say over and over, no backs have jobs entirely to themselves unless you're like Barkley and McCaffrey and Henry. Otherwise, everybody else.
And there's a cost to that too. Yeah.
There's someone else, but yeah, just how many years do we have to do it with Swift, where he's this presumptive? He's the prince who was promised, as is said in something. Harry Potter, is that? I don't know.
Sure.
I've heard it said enough. You have girls. Do your girls read Harry Potter?
They don't.
Yeah. It's more of a boy thing, but I think it's some girls too. But every year for his entire career, it's like, okay, it's his show, and then there's always some reason why it winds up not being his show. Truly vexing player and a great candidate for this list. Mine, also a predictable name. I thought maybe we were going to overlap on number 1, Kyle Pitts. We need to keep having a Kyle Pitts conversation, because
keep the torch lit.
The Kyle Pitts enthusiasts they'll take over if you let them. They're like bed bugs. Let's face it, they're like bed bugs. If you don't fumigate every so often, you run the risk of Kyle Pitts being on your fantasy team. Is he fast? He is undeniably fast. Now I want you to tell me another thing good that he does.
He's tall too.
Tall
forgot that part.
Yeah. He finished tight end 3. Amazing. What a season. And then I am touching my fictional earpiece and being told that as of week 12 last year, he was tight end 22. So I'm going to guess that your fantasy team wasn't very good and or relying on Kyle Pitts. Okay, but we always say pick up the tight end who's hot and ride him until you can. Find your Robert Tonyan. Rock on. Do it. And Pitts could be that guy. And the first week of the fantasy playoffs, he does 11 for 166 and 3 and wins you. And oh, baby, if you were smart enough to have Kyle Pitts, imagine how great he was in the fantasy finals. Oh, and I'm being told he caught 2 passes for 16 yards. I do not believe that a switch has been flipped with Kyle Pitts. He is a mistake waiting to happen. His hands are disastrous. He runs the wrong route. He had 0 plays with 20-plus yards after the catch.
Well, he's so high. He stays so high. I mean, for a tall player, obviously, but he does no favors to himself. He leaves his chest up.
Yeah.
But he also like the problem that he rounds out all his routes is what I don't like. Like, it's just like, who taught you that? Like like he just doesn't plan his. There's just not a lot of suddenness for this guy that we talk about with this. Like to be such a liability as a blocker, like you would think that you could have like I don't know, sharp route breaking or something, but that doesn't happen. It seems like kind of like practicey, like lazy, rounding off the routes as opposed to sharp cuts.
If you take away that game that I mentioned, the 3-touchdown game in week 15 against the Buccaneers, he would have been tight end 15, not tight end 3. And again, I just want to emphasize, for this fast player who's supposed to be this game breaker, 0 plays with 20 yards after the catch. He's just not a good player. I don't believe he's a good player. I guess, once again, I can't see the future, and if this has changed him somehow, if the fact that Drake London and everybody else was injured and Kirk Cousins was desperately trying to prove that he was relevant, so he was just going to throw like crazy in a meaningless stretch down the seat, maybe that changed him forever and ever, and I will feel bad. But I do not feel bad right now. So Kyle Pitts, predictably, probably.
Marvin Harrison needs a hero. I mean, beyond his dad. Like,
Marvin Harrison's been in the league a lot less, so I give Marvin Harrison a much better chance.
But this could be his outcome. His dream would just be to be constantly thought of as like it's going to happen.
And get a. I mean, Kyle Pitts got a contract.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
He got a contract, so I mean, he can't. I don't care about the money, right? So they have infinite amounts of money. The salary cap is fake. I'm never mad somebody gets paid. It's fine. And I don't believe they're committed if he's terrible. You know, I don't believe they can't get out from under it. So like, cool, it's not my money. Pay them all money. It's great. But yes, I do think Kyle Pitts.
I think it more speaks to his career. Like that in real football, they see the flashes too, and they're like, "Ooh, wow, what if that happened all the time?" And it won't.
Yeah, I don't think it will. I guess I can't definitively say it's sports.
Maybe it won't, but shouldn't. Right.
Right. We don't think it will. It's sports, and that's what's fun about sports is that we can't. If it was, if we could predict it, it would be the encyclopedia. We can. Yeah. We can't predict it. And then there's the aspect of him as a teammate and a guy and a person, an employee, a guy in the building. I'm sure it's all wonderful. So like, fantastic. You wanted to have him around. I got no problem with that part of it because the cap is fake. But yeah, I'm not going to draft him in fantasy. Don't think he's good. All right. Well, that does it. And for all of our hemming and hawing off the top, you did exactly the correct assignment. I mean,
there you go.
What was I worried about?
That's what I do. I confuse you first and then come through with semi-accurate analysis.
You're the best for doing this. It's not really your job anymore, but you're such a good friend of mine that I honestly this is the only time we talk for any extended period of time. So anytime I can get you on the podcast, I will do it. Don't find Jim anywhere. Don't follow him anywhere. You don't have to subscribe to his newsletter. The only thing you have to do is petition the Philadelphia School District to teach Pound Foolish. Other than that, you're free to go, my friend.
That and just root for Joel Embiid's knees,
And thank you so much for listening, and thank Joel Embiid's knees for continuing to be attached. Let's also thank the sponsors. We had 3 great ones today. We had Shopify, Policy Genius, and Lisa. If you were interested in what I had to say today about the sponsors, you can find their information in today's show notes. And when you do pick out a sponsor to support, it really does help the show. Of course, you don't always have the means and you don't always have the need. I'm so lucky to have you listening. But if you are interested, you can find all the current sponsors at harrisfootball.com. Let's pick a winner, shall we? The random number generator has selected a winner, and that winner is Patty K. Patty wins a hat or a t-shirt. Yacht Possum, Harris Football, whatever you want. I've emailed Patty, and hopefully they will send me a note back and let me know what they would like off the store there. And boom, another bribery winner. You can join, pre-order the book. You don't have to have read Slotback. Audiobooks are great. They count. Ebooks are great. They count. Send me a screen cap of your pre-order to heyharris@harrisfootball.com, and you, too, can join in. And tomorrow, I think we're going to do a signed copy of a prior book. That's going to be tomorrow's raffle item. And then I think we'll do Zoom stuff soon thereafter. So there are going to be a lot of Zooms. I can't do one like every day, but hopefully we'll do between now and the end of the month, we'll probably do another 10 Zooms, I would say. So keep submitting and, hopefully you win. So that's going to do it for this podcast, but there's many more to follow. Coming up on Tuesday's show, Brandon Funston from The Athletic is going to join, and Brandon and I are going to count down swing players for 2026. These are players who may swing your league one way or another. That one should be pretty fun as well. Until then, thanks again so much for listening. Your hat is awesome. You're awesome for wearing it. I will talk to you tomorrow.
The Harris Football Podcast's opening theme is Under the Gun by Apex Manor. The closing theme is Say Yes by The Wellspring. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and never miss an episode.